Welcome to the morning formation. Warriors fall in. It's time for formation. So welcome back to another episode of the Morning Formation podcast, where I'm doing a very exciting in-studio with two of my compadres here. On the Morning Formation, we explore the mindset of those who strive, thrive, and survive through life's toughest challenges. I'm your host, KP, and today we're testing out some new in-studio features and tech, I guess you could say. And I'm featuring two incredible human beings in front of me from the world of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Joining me today is Coach Mike Medina, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and longtime mentor on and off the mats, right? Alongside him is Nate Crisler. He's a blue belt, rising student of the craft.
Awesome. Pleasure to be here.
Oh, yeah.
So today's episode is all about getting to know these two warriors, learning about their journeys, and tapping into some trending topics from fitness routines to mental resilience. So let's get after it. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, doing good. Thank you for having us.
No,
Absolutely.
I appreciate you guys being my guinea pigs.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time for me, but I think it's pretty cool, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I wish I could say I knew what I was doing, but I really don't. Like, I bought all this stuff at a garage sale, sort of. Like a virtual garage sale. It's called Offer Up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been on offer up.
Yeah, I love that.
So yeah, so let's get at it, man. So Mike, where were you born and raised, and what was it like growing up for you?
So I was born in Denver, Colorado. I moved to Rio Rancho, New Mexico. It's where I spent like most of my childhood and teenage years. And life was good. Life was good. I had, my parents were awesome. Put me in boxing as a young kid, so that kind of like changed the direction of my life, kind of at a young age. So yeah, I've been pretty fortunate. I didn't have too much like hardship, luckily.
Well, when did you move to New Mexico?
Second grade. So I was probably how old are you in second grade? Like 5, yeah, 8.
Yeah,
Maybe
Yeah.
some 7,
8 or
6?
9, yeah.
I don't know.
So when you moved to New Mexico, you mentioned that before that it was rough there, right?
Yeah, so originally my parents moved to a little small town, and unfortunately I was like the only white kid. So people weren't very nice to me. So, but eventually I ended up like, kind of getting past that point and kind of overcoming being bullied and kind of being alone, because my older brothers were already out of the house. So I kind of had no one to like back me up and protect me. So I kind of had to kind of learn how to do that on my own, so that was always a problem, but I was still pretty fortunate. So.
But was there any incident growing up that changed your life? I mean, like traumatic incident that you want to talk about?
Well, something did happen when I was younger. When I was, I think, around 11 or 12, I was shot in a drive-by. So that was kind of intense.
This was in Albuquerque?
This was in Taos. New Mexico. It's like a really small town. So yeah.
So was that common there to have drive-bys, or was that pretty rare?
No, it was pretty rare. I mean, it was the day before the 4th of July, and I was going to pick up some fireworks, and I was riding my bike, and my friend was like, "Hey, let me ride your bike." I said, "Yeah, no problem." And as soon as he got on my bike and we traded, he started riding away, and these guys rolled up and just started firing a .22 rifle at me and my friend. And I ended up getting shot in the knee. And yeah, it was crazy, because I had that fight or flight moment, because I thought they were going to turn around. So I was worried that I was going to die, so I ran across the street, and I knocked on a random stranger's door, and this dude opened the door. I'll never forget this. This guy had a beer in his hand. He was like an Army Ranger. He had like those hats that are camouflage on. He was like, "What's going on?" He's like, "I thought I heard bullets or gunshots." He picked me up, drove me to the hospital, stayed with me until my parents got there, and it was pretty intense, So
Did they ever catch the guys that did it?
So we went to court. They had me look out of a lineup, and everything happened so fast, but I kind of remembered the guy's eyes. We locked eyes for a second. I kind of remembered what they looked like, and out of the lineup, I chose the person that I thought was him, and we went to court, and he got off. They said it wasn't him. He had alibis, but turns out like a lot of the alibis were like lying and all kinds of stuff. So who knows? Who knows?
Do you remember when you were in that moment of like flight or fight where you had to react?
Yeah. It was. It's kind of like how they say, even like you have to either make the move or just stay there. Like for a split second, I was paused and I was just shocked, and I wanted to stay there, but something told me, no, you got it. Like if they turn around, they start shooting. Like it could be worse than just where I was shot at. I mean, God forbid I got hit in my neck or my stomach or something, right? So I just ran. Despite how bad my knee was, I just ran across the street and wanted to get into someone's house.
So you literally ran across the street and you had a bullet
in my knee, yeah.
In your knee?
Yeah.
Damn, that's wild, man.
I was terrified.
Yeah, that is.
The fact that they were going to turn around, as my buddy said, he said, they're going to turn around. And I was like, oh no, I'm dead at that point, so.
I don't even know how to process that at that age. It's pretty crazy.
No, it was rough. And then my mom didn't believe my friend that I got shot. She's like, oh, Mike got shot. He's in the hospital. And she's like, yeah, real funny, and about an hour later, she showed up.
So were you their target?
No. So they were doing a string of like random shootings. They were just driving around the town shooting random people. Guess like a gang initiation.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. People do that.
They shot at some dudes. Some guy that worked at a fireworks stand. They shot at him, but I was the only one to get hit. So
wow.
Yeah, just bad luck, I guess.
But to be honest with you, that's New Mexico. It's wild, man. It's a Wild West.
The Wild West, yep.
It's the Wild West.
And I was young. I was like 9, 10 years old. Like these dudes are gonna just shoot at some kid, 2 kids, but what can you do?
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Now, Nate, I know you grew up in Bel Air and you had a much better life growing up, right?
No, not necessarily.
Where did you grow up?
So I was born in Westminster, Colorado. Grew up, lived there for about 9 years. I think it was the Arapahoe County area. And then mom and dad went through some stuff, ended up getting divorced. So I moved out with my mom, went to Washington State when I was 9 years old. Lived there for about 2 years with my mom's sister, my aunt. And then actually came to find out that my dad ended up passing away when I was 9. So just went through the struggles of that for a little bit. I think being at such a young age, I didn't really know how to process it. And in the moment, it just didn't really affect me in like a sad way. I don't know. So, I mean, now that I'm much older, I think I can understand that because it happened at such a young age, it's hard to process traumatic events like that go on. And then, but you move on. I think it's made me the person I am today. So forever thankful that things play out the way they do. I would never go back in time and change anything. And I think that's a good mindset to have. So after Washington, lived there for 2 years, about 2012, moved down to Orange County. So I lived in Tustin, starting middle school for, what was it, 3 years I was in Tustin. So my mom ended up meeting another gentleman who later became my stepfather. And we moved down here because he's a screenwriter, or that's what he liked to do as a hobby. So moved down here so he could be closer to Hollywood. My mom's originally from Torrance, so coming back home for her. And then once middle school ended, about 8th grade, they decided we're going to move up to Pasadena. So moved to Pasadena, lived there for about 10 years. And then just been in the LA, greater Los Angeles area for, I guess 12, 13 years now. So
you bounced around quite a bit. Did you have a good relationship with your father growing up?
I'd say, yeah, I'd say we had a decent relationship. I think, since I was so young, it's almost like a blur, And I try not to think about the bad times that would happen. I only try to think about the good times. But, regular dad stuff, we'd go to football games and, barbecue in the backyard. I mean, it was good until it wasn't good, and
Yeah. You actually did a lot of adjusting. You were almost like a military brat.
yeah. Actually, I wanted to be in the military for the longest. My dad was in the Air Force. Gramps was also in the Air Force. Both sides of my family. I've had a bunch of people in the military, so.
Yeah, because usually military brats have to adjust every 4 years. Like they have to move every 4 years, and you moved from Colorado to Washington, down to Orange County, up to Pasadena.
Yep.
I mean, it's still Pacific time zone for the most part, but still, I mean, you're bouncing around quite a bit, and having to readjust and having to reestablish yourself all over again and your friends and everything. So, at what point did you start training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
So I actually didn't start training jiu-jitsu until I was 22.
I
So-
thought you just started training like 3 months ago.
That's what I like to tell people, right? It makes me look better. No, so
Yeah.
I just started training seriously about at 22. So we met through a mutual buddy actually on Mike's birthday a couple years back, our buddy Chris. And, I was talking to Mike about how I love jiu-jitsu, but he was giving me crap because he was like, you don't train, man, So just at the time, jiu-jitsu is not like a super cheap sport. You know what I'm saying? Especially
Right.
as someone who's 22.
Right.
At the time, I was taking classes in college. I was working a job, so I didn't have the time, didn't have the money. And so I was mentioning these things to Mike, and he told me he was opening up his gym in Alhambra, and he mentioned to come train with him when it opened, and ever since then, that's where it started. So
Yeah.
super fortunate for that opportunity. I think it changed my life. Crazy how things work out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mike, you seem like you have a lot of outreach when it comes to young adults and getting them in the gym. Because I noticed there's a few guys at the gym that are in their mid-20s. Yeah. And you kind of brought them in and brought them on board and got them training, right?
For me, I just feel that I think jiu-jitsu could change anyone's life if given the opportunity, Like when I started, I've had some great friends to do great things in jiu-jitsu. So I always know that, for young people, it's a positive thing to be a part of, especially when you're young. A lot of people are influenced by partying and, a lot of negative things. At least jiu-jitsu gets people addicted to something that can change your life,
The thing is, though, is like you're not like a one-trick pony, because you've done Muay Thai, boxing, right?
Yeah, boxing, Muay Thai, Wing Chun.
So why jiu-jitsu?
I think for me, it just seemed more functional for what I wanted to do, if that makes sense. I did all these arts, and I knew something always felt like it was missing. I was still chasing something else. And then once I had the opportunity to train with some really good wrestlers in New Mexico, I realized I was like, wow, like no matter how good my stand-up is or my cardio, these guys were able to get underneath me, take me down, and really like put me in some bad positions. So I said, wow, I need to learn this. So I'm never one to just, be held down, if that makes any sense. So
you think out of all the martial arts that you train, that jiu-jitsu is the best one? Jiu-jitsu, wrestling, any type of art that's like grappling to control the fight?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not to take anything away from anything else. I mean, I believe the art and the person, like you could learn karate or taekwondo if you're really passionate about it. You could be deadly at it, if you're a master of the craft. But for me, I just figured, well, I already knew a little bit of stand-up. I knew a little bit of everything else. If I just did jiu-jitsu where I could train every day, spar every day, and not be injured, not have any headaches, kind of take away from that issue, I was like, perfect, sign me up. So.
Hell yeah. That's I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 12 years on and off, had injuries here and there. And I love seeing guys like Nate over here, Nate, how old are you?
23. I'll be 24 next month.
You're 23, man, and you just dove head first into it, and you train like every single day. How many
full time?
How many competitions have you done?
Oh, I've lost count. Maybe 15 to 20 in the past year or so.
That's the one thing that I regret is when I was younger was not training even harder, like taking time off, not taking, because the older you get, the more variables are going to get in the way.
100%.
So you got to get it in when you're young as much as possible, because when you get kids, you get married, you have work and all this other stuff going on, it just starts getting in the way. So I like how you're in it, and you're in it every day, man. You take it serious. I mean, it's a business for you almost, right?
No, 100%. I mean, jiu-jitsu is my life. It's completely consumed me for the better. And I think, people have always told me that you're going to find something that's going to just call to you and you're going to do that. And I mean, ever since I started jiu-jitsu, I just felt like it was my calling. Maybe I love competing, and if it doesn't work out competing, I'm totally okay with that. I love the coaching aspect of doing jiu-jitsu. I think I reap a lot of the benefits being a coach, and, that builds my character a lot. So yeah, jiu-jitsu is just completely traversed my life.
Now for me, it was easy to get into it because I wrestled. Did you wrestle in high school?
No, I did not. I was a tennis player. So, but yeah, I did tennis to get out of class. I was one of those kids, but yeah, I never played really sports in high school. I was always active, but yeah, no wrestling. My school actually didn't offer wrestling, unfortunately. Otherwise, I probably would have done it.
Yeah.
But
no,
wrestling.
I had a similar thing too. I wrestled my junior and senior year, and my first high school didn't have it, so
okay,
I ended up doing it like for the first time. But it gave me a good base. But the thing is a lot of my competition, the other wrestlers that I was going against, they literally were wrestling since they could walk, and this is in the state of Ohio.
Oh,
So
it's a wrestling state.
Just brutal. Like, it's just like any other big state in sports and stuff. So
for sure.
But Mike, I didn't ask you, man. When did your jiu-jitsu journey start for you? I know you mentioned your parents started you in boxing.
Yeah, so it started when I was young. Obviously, I'm a lot older. I was born in 1984, so I was influenced by like Rocky and all like Rambo, all this stuff, right? So
WWF.
Yeah, like I was, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior. And then I wanted to try wrestling. I went to wrestling. I did all the practices until it was time to get the singlet size, and I was like, no, I'm not wearing that. I was like, no.
Why?
I don't know why. Now
I could see you in a singlet.
I'd be comfortable wearing it. In my no-gi career, I'd wear just little shorts with no top and nothing, and the singlet was a killer for me.
It's like a leotard for gymnastics.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but yeah, I
wouldn't mind.
I've never tried one on. I mean, I've never.
We need to get you. We need to get you one.
We'll get you some custom ones.
Why don't we? Yeah, we should make him one.
Make me a custom singlet.
I think ADCC you can compete in a singlet.
I want one of those ones that go like super far down.
We can make it sexy.
No, he wants the Borat one.
Yeah, the Borat one for sure. That'd be hilarious.
But no, I did boxing. Was a state champion my first year. I was in crazy story actually. So I joined boxing. And the first day they had the tryouts, there was like 150 kids there. Mm-hmm. And every week, 20 would drop. Bam, bam, bam. It was only me and 2 other kids who stayed. And the kids that I stayed with were some really good friends of mine. One of them being Nathaniel Duran. He was a multiple-time national champion as a kid. He was phenomenal. We were best friends. We ended up having a falling out. I left boxing. And I was like kind of jaded by the situation because his uncle was the coach and he was really like hard on us. And I just wasn't really comfortable around him, the coach, as far as like the way he just handled things. Like he was a good guy, but he was just really rough, And years later, I stopped doing boxing and I got into music. I'm watching the news and Nathaniel Duran ended up murdering a lady. It's like my best friend. Yeah. He was this like promising boxer, like off for stardom, and ended up committing murder and getting into drugs, and crazy. I got out of there like right at the nick of time. It was like just really weird how that all worked out, but
yeah,
something I think about.
So when you left boxing, did you go to jiu-jitsu or did you get into Muay Thai or?
No, I didn't get into Muay Thai
MMA?
until I was in MMA until I was like right around like Nate's age, like 23, 22. when I started taking it seriously. I actually wanted to do Jeet Kune Do. I was a big Bruce Lee fan, and he was, I was like, all right, I want to learn that stuff and be super, super good street fighter and all that stuff. And I found a gentleman in Albuquerque, Coach Sifu Ray Yi, which is an amazing guy, helped me out a lot actually. But I trained with him, and he had this little tiny dojo, and I just stayed with him. And then he got into MMA. Some wrestlers came in and wanted to learn striking, so he started taking these guys on this whole striking journey. And then that's where my whole journey transitioned to mixed martial arts, and I wanted to be an MMA fighter and all that stuff. So
I mean, Nate, you're probably too young to understand, but in the 80s, we thought WWF was, at least I did. I thought WWF was real.
Yeah.
And I thought Steven Seagal was real. And I thought all that. I thought
It's not? No, I'm just kidding.
dude, I mean, I thought that Jean-Claude Van Damme was real. I thought that's how fighting went down.
Right.
And it totally does not at all.
No.
UFC kind of, broke that whole myth really quick.
It was just the more real form of seeing who's, out of all the years of all this combat and dojo storming. And
I mean, I remember seeing fights at school, and I'm not even shitting you. I would see fights at school where people would do that, pat their elbow and then do that elbow drop, because that's what we saw in wrestling, man.
Oh yeah.
my gosh.
I've seen that.
So
before.
so that's what we thought, man. Back in the day. So you wanting to do. I mean, it's amazing that your parents even put you in martial arts to begin with, because my dad would never do it.
Well, I think New Mexico is a big boxing community, among the the Latino people. It was that or karate. And my dad's like, no, we're not doing karate. He's like, no offense, but the guy teaching's 90 years old. I mean, so I said, okay, fine, no problem. So put me in boxing, and it's probably the greatest thing that ever happened to me, besides my being uncomfortable around the coach. The teammates were really nice, and it was a good time.
What's the one thing that you see related to all the martial arts that you've done? Footwork? Is it transition? What do you think is similar across the board for everyone?
I think it's just, for me, it was I always sought out the most brutal form, right? It's they're both really gentle, but they could be extremely brutal. And those are the sports that I was kind of always drawn to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Wing Chun, people think it's a real soft art, but it's incredibly brutal. Same thing with Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu. It's a very gentle art, but at the same time, if you start adding in other variables such as punches, headbutts, and all this stuff, it changes an art that's, gentle to an art that's very deadly. So that always attracted me, because growing up, I wanted to be someone who could protect themselves in the street no matter what. And that was a goal of me trying to learn all these martial arts, is if I ever had to protect my family or myself, I wouldn't be a victim, so.
For me, man, I think for me, it's about slowing it down, slowing the action down, sort of like the Matrix, and being able to see things and see windows open and see those close at the same time.
Absolutely.
And so, especially in the law enforcement, military realm, it's important for you to be able to do that under stress and anxiety, to see action and to slow that action down. And Nate, the only thing you've trained so far is just tennis and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
So growing up, I actually did Taekwondo.
Okay.
I don't really
don't
really consider that
people
too much.
Dude, I mean, people kind of shit on Taekwondo and karate, but in reality, tell me if I'm wrong, Mike, you would know this better than me. It teaches you discipline, right? And how to do proper strikes.
Yeah. I was having a conversation today with one of my students, and he was like, why isn't it more efficient? And I said, well, a lot of, especially with Taekwondo, right? It's a lot of kicks and no punches to the face, only punches to the body, right? It kind of limits your form of what you're used to doing, right? If you're used to punching in a controlled environment like that, what if you go, you're at school, you're still going to want to punch to the body, and,
Yeah.
Unless you have really good kicks, then that separates you from everyone else, right? And like I've always said, it doesn't matter about the martial art. It matters about the person training the martial art. If they're intense and they want to be brutal, they can make they can make anything gentle brutal.
For sure.
So
I like that. I like that. Gentle, brutal.
yeah.
Speaking of gentle, brutal, Nate, you're a fucking beast, man, on the mats.
I appreciate that.
I'm just saying, man, you're relentless, and just for having trained, what you said, 3 years now.
Yeah, just under 3, 2.5.
So in those 3 years, man, what do you think is your biggest struggle or breakthrough so far in your journey?
That's a good question.
There's got to be something that sticks out in your mind.
The most difficult thing or like struggle,
just the one thing that sticks out in your mind that is either a struggle or a breakthrough that you've had. Maybe it's a competition that you...
I think it's the when I first started competing, I actually ended up losing my first 10 tournaments. And so I think that takes a toll on your mental drive, right? Because I'm paying money out of my pocket to do all these tournaments and I'm not performing good. I'm not even scoring any points. And so I think the mental resilience of not giving up and still pursuing my desire to compete, I think that's probably where the biggest struggle was, and then eventually when I just became full focus on competing and taking it more serious and just not stopping. I mean, there's no secret. You say I'm good at jiu-jitsu, but anybody can be really good at something if they dedicate and have passion and spend a lot of time working at it. I wasn't born a gifted individual for jiu-jitsu. I don't think a lot of people are, right? I mean, maybe some people are more athletic than others. People have done sports growing up, but if you want to get good at jiu-jitsu, that's the one beautiful thing is it's just time on the mat and how hard you're willing to work. And for me, I'm always that person where I want to make sure that I'm the hardest worker in the room, not just for me, but for those people around me. So I can set a standard, and try and be just a role model. So
that's true leadership, man. And I'll say this much, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for me has meant, like, anytime I was going through a rough patch in my life, like when I was going through a divorce or anything like that, I had two options. I could either get my ass in the gym or I could go to the bar. And I lived in great places like Chicago that have great bar scenes. Yeah. And they also have great MMA gyms, great BJJ gyms. And so whenever I was going through those rough patches in my life, that's where I would go. I would just go to the gym. And I've been very blessed to have people that own gyms that would just throw me the keys and say, anytime you need to go in there, just go in there. And I would spend like a lot of time just going to the gym. And when it was closed, I had to find something else to do. But yeah, taking accountability and having that self-awareness is really, really important.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. Especially for young adults, military veterans, I think especially, like, meeting people in the middle and having self-awareness and accountability is really important, and knowing thyself. So I want to throw this question out to both of you right now, and you guys can answer however you want, but how do you both define resilience in your personal life or on the mats? How do you define resilience in your personal life or on the mats, just from what you've seen over the years?
Go ahead.
I guess I'll speak on this first. I think it's you versus you. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to be resilient about being a better person, being a better man, being a better woman. I can't be better than the next guy, and the next guy can't be better than me. He wasn't dealt the same cards that I was dealt, and vice versa. So I think resilience through the cards you're dealt and trying to use it to become, a better individual.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not only for you, but for the people around you, and so I always try to tell myself it's you versus you, especially in jiu-jitsu. I can't be better than the next guy at jiu-jitsu. He can't be better than me. All I can be is better than the person I was yesterday or better than I was 6 months ago, so I know as long as I'm making progressive changes and it's making me better, not only on the mats, but as a person, then, that's resilience for me.
Yeah, I agree with that, man,
like
for
that.
sure. Yeah. I mean, I like it because a perspective from a 23-year-old young adult who's been training relentlessly from 3 years. But Mike, you're a 40-year-old black belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, man. What's your take on that?
Well, for me, it was just staying consistent. After, like you, I went through a divorce and I had nothing left, so I had the same choice to make, right? But luckily I had really good friends who kind of believed in my journey, right? So it just taught me that if you just set a goal, like I tell my students, if you have a goal, you have something to work towards, right? If you reach that goal, you set another goal. If you don't have no goal to reach, then you're kind of just floating by. You're just training to train, or you're just showing up to show up, right? But if you put goals and you meet those, and you become more of a way better person, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you for sure on that, man. And resilience, you know, I always say this whenever I was in the military and law enforcement, everyone has their own idea of a bad day. Mm-hmm. Everybody has their own idea. Nate, I know you've been in some matches where the guy that you've been going against has really pushed you to the limits, and you had to choose, do I just roll over or do I keep fighting?
100%.
And whether you win 100%. Or lose, like, it changes you. Like, you literally break through a whole new floor.
Oh, yeah. I think it's all mindset. You know, at the end of the day, what do they say? It's 90% mental, 10% physical. So it's all just dependent on how you look at the hardship. You can either let it break you or it can make you. And so I always try to have the mindset, if I go out anywhere in life and I, you know, have a difficult situation or competition in the room, I'm getting beat, you know, it's super easy when times get hard, right, to just give up and shy away. And I try my best, you know, to not have that mindset. I try to say, work through the hard times. It'll make you, you know, a better person. And what's the saying? You can't make a scrambled egg without cracking some eggs, right? So, yeah, just try to take the good with the ugly. And I think that's all you can do. You know, it's everything's hindsight 50-50 at the end of the day. So, you know, you're not going to be able to go back in time and change it. So might as well adapt, learn, and overcome. So
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I learned at a young age, man. Like even when I had like toxic situations, being in the military, bad leadership or whatever, I walked away a better man because I learned how to navigate, manage the managers, manage the situation, take accountability, some self-awareness, fall on your face and fall forward at the same time. When you guys are in competition, what are both of your biggest competitions so far? Like if you had to rank them, like what have you been to, like Worlds?
I did Worlds last year. So I got actually Worlds coming up in 2 weeks. So, but yeah, I did Worlds last year. Biggest tournament, I guess that just depends on, you know, maybe the notoriety, and I guess Worlds is considered the biggest tournament.
Absolutely.
But biggest in terms of matches I've had, I wouldn't say it's Worlds. I'd say it's more one of the Opens, you know, but I guess it just depends on how you look at it.
Yeah. I was really surprised. I did a tournament in Indiana once, and it was a little tournament. It wasn't IBJJF or anything like that, and I did not take it serious. I didn't cut weight. Huge mistake, man. Yeah. Huge mistake. I ended up getting mopped in that tournament. But so yeah, I know what you're saying when it comes to like what's big. That's subjective, right? But take me through a typical training day for you when you're in the zone, both of you, when you guys are getting ready for a competition. I mean, because your diet changes and like
100%.
How much do you train?
So for myself, I'm a lot older, so it's a little different, right? But for me, I just try to train with the best, with every day with the guys in the room, right? Try to have a good diet. And for me, I believe a lot of it's, for myself, is just self-belief. If I know I put in the hard work and I've given it my all, then I'm going to have no regret no matter what, right? Win or lose. But I never want to go in half-ass and have to live with the fact that I got beat by someone I shouldn't have been beat by, or, you know, made a mistake I shouldn't if I just prepared right. Because, you know, for myself, regret's something I don't like at all.
Have you ever made that mistake of not taking something serious?
Yeah. A lot of times. I mean, I didn't start doing good in competition until I was a black belt. So everything else, I was always like mediocre.
Really?
I would win, you know, one tournament here. I was always like top 3. You know, I can never like break through. And then, you know, as soon as I opened my gym, more than I really started doing good, which is really weird because I didn't have a room full of like a bunch of tough guys. You know, I had a bunch of beginners and, you know, my nephews and all them to work with. And that's kind of all I had to prepare me. Yeah. So it was,
shout out Juno.
Yeah. Shout out Juno, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out Juno.
Giudini.
For all his hard work. He was with us helping me coach with all the students. And he's something else too, to have in a room when you have at least one good guy. But I had all my nephews there. So I had, Nate was coming up, and a couple guys from the gym that I had before, that I was working at before, kind of came over, and that's all I had. But I knew that if I could just hone in my technique, that I could go do it when it mattered. I've been doing this long enough that I know that, like, what I need to do to mentally prepare.
It sounds like you're talking about a specific tournament. Which tournament was that, and what was the outcome?
Well, it was one of my first. So growing up in a small town, I've always wanted to win an IBJJF, let alone at black belt, right? That was like a big goal of mine. So, and not only that, I just opened the gym, right? All my students came, parents, so it was, I think it was 2023 Orange County Open.
I remember that. Yeah, I just started.
Yeah, so that was like a big win for me, because that solidified for me. I didn't really care what anyone else thought. I just solidified to me that I could go and put myself on there and fight guys that normally I wouldn't be able to beat.
So you got first?
Yeah. Damn. Submitted everybody.
That's right.
In Orange County too.
Yeah, submitted all my opponents. Yeah.
Orange County.
Against some tough guys too. I will say that.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I mean, Orange County that's a big.
Yeah, they don't call it the AOJ
deal,
Open
dude.
for no reason. You know?
Well, I just knew that, my students were going to show up, and I had to be ready, because I just opened the gym in Alhambra, and I knew, hey, like, it was mainly for myself. Like, I had done the NABJJF Worlds and won and done these tournaments, but I was like, okay, this is like in my backyard, like out. Everyone knows, like, Orange County, LA area, we have the best jiu-jitsu besides maybe Brazil. Even then, right? We have some of the best. So
yeah, when I used to train out in Cincinnati, the guys would fly out here.
Yeah.
For the tournaments. I mean, because this is a big state for that.
Yeah. So if you can come out, and like I said, that was my goal. So for me, I just, I was just ready. I was motivated and mentally prepared. If I'm mentally prepared, I feel that I can't be beaten by anybody. So
yeah. What about you, Nate, man? What is your typical training like when you're leading up to a big competition?
So I'll just give you the rundown of my day-to-day right now. So I wake up about 9 a.m., go do a morning training session for about an hour or two. And then after that, I go to do strength and conditioning with one of our guys at the gym there. Shout out Kev, Nimble Athletics. Yeah, and he's been training me for the past couple weeks, getting me ready for Worlds. And then after that, I come home. I'm working with the nutritionist right now. So just to help me shed these extra pounds a little bit easier.
What weight are you at?
Right now I'm 155, so I fight featherweight, which is 150.
But you walk around at what?
About 160. It depends on how much I'm eating, how much I'm splurging. I'm a big back, so I love food. But last tournament I weighed in, when I fought heavyweight, I was 168. So
heavyweight.
Yeah, I fought heavyweight, but for Worlds I wanted to cut down, and that's why I implemented working with strength and conditioning and working with a nutritionist, right? These are all things I could do myself, but it's the accountability of having someone that's coaching you and there to push you that I think is helping me a lot, especially with the nutrition factor. I've always cut weight on my own. I've always understood the calorie deficit and everything, but I think taking the chance and leap of faith in someone else, especially a professional, and having that accountability has really solidified it being a good thing for me. So, but after strength and conditioning for a couple hours, I come back home, rest up a little bit, and then I'm back on the mat coaching kids class for a couple hours. Depends on the day, usually 1 or 2 classes, and then have the adult training at night.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, back in the day when I used to do tournaments, I was pretty regimented and disciplined. Would you believe that I was down to 145 at one point? Accidentally, dude.
I'm sure you looked like a lean and mean 145.
I can believe that. I can believe that.
Dude, I got down to 145, and I was working.
So you probably moved really good too.
Yeah,
super fast.
And the thing is I wasn't trying to do it, but I was so. I mean, it was a rough patch in my life. So I literally just soaked myself into jiu-jitsu. I was doing hot yoga at the same time, which is next door to the MMA gym that I trained at. And then I was also going to the sauna. I was eating nothing but like Subway chicken sandwiches nothing on it, just plain.
Oof.
Damn.
So yeah, I mentally went there at one point, but I know it's very trying. And
It
very
is,
tough.
and I think
do
the
that.
sacrifice
Oh, man.
is what makes it. You know, like I said earlier, it's 90% mental, 10% physical. So
Yeah.
if I'm willing to go the extra step, and you know, if all said is done, it doesn't help me out, but I go in there mentally believing that it helped me out. I mean, that's, you know, 100% it matters, even if it's a placebo. You know what I'm saying? I'm taking that bet.
The trend that I'm seeing here is you both were talking about being mentally prepared, mentally ready, in the right state of mind, right? You think being relaxed really helps you out quite a bit?
Relaxed,
Nervous, but yet
I think for myself,
prepared. I think prepared.
I think you just got to go out and have fun. You know,
Yeah.
like especially if you're competing, it's like it's beyond, I think, being nervous, right? Like you're not getting punched, right? If you think about it, you're just kind of like playing a game plan, right? You're just trying to implement the game that you've been training. You know, and for me, I think when I used to think about it that way, I wouldn't be nervous. You know, it's like, well, what could really go wrong?
Yeah.
You know, as long as I just go in there and just try to win.
it's kind of like the knobs on this audio and just setting it just right to where you're nervous, taking it serious, but you're relaxed at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they all play a factor for the mental part, you know. It's just how you deal with each emotion, each feeling,
Right.
you know.
And everyone's different. Some people need nerves. Some people don't get nervous.
Yeah.
One of my teammates, Esteban Martinez, this guy would never get nervous. And this guy would fight big guys. And I'm like, man, you don't get nervous? He's like, nah, man, I just go out there and fight. And I was like, man, that's something I used to always look at and be like, wow, that's a rare thing to find in somebody who just like has zero fear when he competes, like no nerves. He could like eat food, take a nap. It's nothing was, you know, where me, I'm like, all right, I got to be sharp. But then I realized, like, I mean, if I'm prepared and I trained hard, my body's going to react to everything I've done. So just
Exactly.
yeah, it's going to happen. So
I've noticed that for me, like when I'm shooting or doing tactics, that when it's almost like the least I give a shit, the better off I do, because I'm putting the fundamentals together that I've basically have been practicing this whole time.
muscle memory.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Muscle memory.
I'm going back to my training.
Yep.
You know, I wanted to ask both of you guys, man, what are your thoughts on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu's growing popularity in mainstream culture, movies, celebs training? There's a lot of celebrities now that are training and whatnot. What are you guys' thought on that?
I love it.
Yeah, I love it too.
Especially I'm a jiu-jitsu business owner. So for me, it's something that just to see anyone come in who normally wouldn't do jiu-jitsu to me is amazing. Whether you're a celebrity, a comedian, whatnot, that's always cool to see.
But it's still black magic. I mean, there's still a lot of people that don't
100%.
train.
I could see that. I mean, I would love more people to join and do jiu-jitsu. I recommend it to everybody, but I just wouldn't want it to water down the sport, in terms of the promotions or just watering down just for money or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? I think the value that jiu-jitsu brings is super important. So just like karate or taekwondo, I think because they're so oversaturated, they have so many people doing the sport, it kind of takes, the meaning away a little bit.
You think the rules could be a way of watering it down, like not allowing certain things to happen, like not striking in the face like they did in some of those strike martial arts? I mean, how would you want? I feel like jiu-jitsu is just like a proving ground where you can't, either you're like, if you walk into a gym and you're wearing a belt, you can't lie.
Yeah.
100%. The belt is just a color.
I can't break boards or not strike you in the face and things like it is a grind. Like you're going to get put through a meat grinder when you first walk into a gym.
And it also depends on the gym you're training at too. A lot of gyms, they have different ways of training and teaching their students, right? So there's some gyms where their aspect is strictly competition. Mm-hmm. So their to me, I noticed the students are have a very good IQ, but they're not very tough outside. Does that make sense? So I think it just depends on who your instructor is, right? So
and what that culture is.
Amen.
Because some gyms I've heard we had a student come in, he said, hey, me and my buddy are both training jiu-jitsu. I trained at, I'm not going to say the name of the gym, but he said, I'm training at this gym. he's training with us. His friend's training at a gym and they don't spar at all. He's like, yeah, he's not allowed to spar until he's like a blue belt. And, you know, we start teaching people how to spar like their very first class.
Yeah.
Right. So
Start banging.
yeah, it's, you know,
Right.
it's night and day. So when they meet up to train, he's just like smashing this guy, and he's, you know, his buddy's like, wow, I don't know why I'm not progressing. And it's like, well, it's not that he's not progressing. He's just learning it a different way. Right.
Yeah.
It's not that it's wrong. It's just not the way we do it, you know?
Yeah, you got to be careful where you train at, man. Some gyms are dangerous, and some gyms aren't teaching you the proper way.
Yeah, definitely. But to circle back to what Mike was saying, I think it's all about the leader and the person running the gym.
Yeah.
You know, for sure. I know some guys too that run gyms or train at other gyms, and you can see the type of person that their coach rubs off on them, right? And thankfully for me, because Mike has been my professor, my coach, my teacher, and knowing him as a person, it's rubbed off on me. And I mean, the mental fortitude that this guy has, you know, has rubbed off greatly on me, and his confidence and seeing everything. I think it rubs off on everybody in the gym, and I think that's an important factor to have.
Yeah, that's huge. That's why I stuck around, because I mean, I had I was gonna start at a different gym, and then I went to go pick up a pizza at Papa John's, and then I saw that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu canvas outside. I was like, oh, there's a Jiu-Jitsu gym here. I was like, I need to get back into it again.
Yep.
And I was like, I'll give this place a try. And what I really liked was I liked how the gym had a very family environment. We're like, not family like kids and adults. I'm talking about family where like everybody was there to get better, no matter what level you were at. Because my first gym that I started at was Midwest Training Center. And at that gym, I tell people all the time, like at that gym, day one, night one, you were they would ragdoll you. They would beat you because the guys were fighters. I mean, that's where Clay Guida was, Jason Guida, Will Brooks, like all those guys were there. Like, and their objective in that gym was to create fighters. And so if you were a hobbyist dad walking in, you became a grappling dummy.
Yeah.
And so I did that for I survived because of my wrestling. And then I moved on to a Carlson Jr. school, Christian Uflacker, shout out to him, South Chicago. Got my blue belt through him. And I got to see how a real gym is supposed to operate. And so, yeah, be careful where you train at, because some places can be dangerous. You know, especially 100%. if you have to go into work tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing that our gym does. We try to cater to everybody. You know, there's so many different reasons people start jiu-jitsu, whether it's to get in shape, you know, or it's to compete, right? Or just become a better person, or maybe you just want the camaraderie of being around other guys or other people. Right. You know, I think that that's what we do really good, is we attract people and people that come to do jiu-jitsu for whatever reason it may be, you know, we're able to fulfill that. So
definitely agree with that, man. Mike, you run a really good school, man.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I try.
Not just kissing your butt because you're here. I really feel that way. Thank you for opening up where you did and having a pizza shop next door. Otherwise, I would have never found you.
Hey, I've been blessed. The Alhambra area has been amazing. I've had incredible students, and you know, that was my goal opening the gym. I've you know, traveled all over, trained at a lot of gyms, and I always noticed there was a lot of cliques, you know, and I always didn't like to go in and, you know, I was like, man, I wish I would just feel more comfortable training somewhere, you know? So I made sure that my students, when someone comes in, you know, we make sure they're a part of the gym. Like, we're not like a separate entity inside the gym where we're, you know, these guys are friends and these guys are friends and you can't hang out with these guys because they're too cool, black belts. It's not like that at all. You could walk up to me and any one of us, ask us any questions anytime. We're just, you know, that was the goal, like family, kids, everyone to just be happy, you know, and learn jiu-jitsu, because it's for everybody. And I hear so many stories of people going to try a jiu-jitsu gym and they get hurt and they never do it. And they don't want to put their kids in it, right? And now they're jaded to that experience, and it's not fair, right? You know?
No,
for sure.
So,
yeah, you definitely have to have those gatekeepers there too, to control the new folks that are coming through the door.
Oh yeah.
To kind of hold them down. Sometimes, you know, you got those guys that can be pretty rough. How did you get your start? I mean, you opened the gym. You already knew Nate. Like, did you just open up and you had no body there, and you were just sitting there waiting for people to walk in?
No, so I'd moved back. So my wife is in the military. So I was in Maryland, and my business partner now, Koji, shout out Koji, wanted to open a gym. Long story short, Professor Lucas gave me a call and said, "Hey, we want to open a gym." So I said, "Well, why don't I come out and work? I'll work for you until everything works out." So I ended up working for Professor Lucas for, about a year and a half, maybe a little more, until the gym opened. And then I'd already had like put out that I was opening a gym. So luckily, I had people literally waiting to join.
Okay, good.
So as soon as the doors opened, I had like rent was already paid my first day. Like everything was, it was just such a blessing, like right off the bat. And I met Nate. I knew him from my buddy Estevan. They knew each other. So like I kind of had like known of Nate. And then when I moved back, our mutual friend of ours introduced us. And
to piggyback, I know I'm pretty close with his nephew, Juno.
Yeah.
So I knew Juno. I actually knew Mike before he knew me. And I have a quick funny story. So the very first day we met, it was at a bar in Monrovia. We're celebrating his birthday with some of the jiu-jitsu guys. And I was actually super hesitant on going because my buddy Chris was training at the time. And he's like, "Dude, just come, like it's Mike's birthday. It's going to be a good time. A bunch of jiu-jitsu guys." I was like, "I don't know, man. Like, these guys don't know me. I don't know them, And I was like, "All right, I'll go." And I mean, thankfully I did. But when I got there, I remember I sat down right next to Mike and he's wearing a Denver Broncos hat. And I'm like, "Oh, you like the Broncos?" Like, "I'm from Denver." And you could tell, like, knowing Mike now and knowing how his sense of humor is, it's funny to look back in time and laugh at the situation. But I remember he was giving me a hard time. He asked me if I was doing jiu-jitsu and I said no. And he just told me I had a really punchable face. And, back in looking back, it's hilarious, right? Knowing his sense of humor. But at the time, I'm never the type of person to let just someone like talk smack, but I already knew Mike before he knew me. So I knew, I got to pick and choose what I say around him. Cause he doesn't know me yet. So I don't want to rub off on him and get my ass beat right on his birthday. So, but we ended up clicking through our buddy Este and through Juno. And yeah, like I said, he said he was opening up a gym and he actually told me, he's like, "I know you're struggling. I know you want to do jiu-jitsu." He said, and I'll never forget this. He told me, "I'll let you come train with me, but on one condition, you're going to be the hardest worker in the room." And, right then and there, I told him, "I promise you, I'm going to be the hardest worker in that gym." And, he told me right back, he said, "Actions speak louder than words. A man is only as good as his word." So I was like, I got to prove not only to him, but to myself. I've always been a person where if I say I'm going to do something, I do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I knew this wasn't an opportunity I couldn't pass up. And as soon as he opened up the gym, showing up every single day, offering to help to clean the mats, trying to put up my end of the bargain, because I know at the end of the day, it's a business for him.
Yeah.
So if I'm not paying, right, it's taken out, of his livelihood.
Yeah.
So
you have to help him in a positive way.
Yeah.
Run the business.
Yeah, exactly.
So Mike, how many times have you extended that olive branch and people just don't show up and show out?
I've had a few.
Yeah.
I've had a few, but I don't offer it too much. Like I've had, like I said, I've been around some very successful people that I've came up with from, white belt to black belt. And, I just like to help. Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes you help people and they don't reciprocate it. Right. But,
or they just don't appreciate it.
Yeah. They don't want to like, they don't want to like be, or like you just be a part of the gym. Right. It's like, if you have that opportunity, you should be more of a role model in the gym. You should be asking for help. You should be respectful, right? There's a lot of things that go along with that, right? So yeah, I only if I see something. If I see something in someone, then I'll, extend that, because there's a point in my life where I remember going to jiu-jitsu and they're like, "Oh, yeah, man, it's $200 and I'm broke." And, my wife's paying for my jiu-jitsu because I can't, pay for it. So it's like, man, who knows of the opportunity for a lot of people who have the chance to be great at jiu-jitsu, but they, money is the barrier between them and success, right? Or learning the art. So,
right.
I can only do so much, but when I can, I will. So.
No, I think that's huge, man. Like whether you want to be considered or not, I mean, at the end of the day, you are a mentor you're a mentor, and it can be very frustrating mentoring because you don't run into people like Nate over here all the time. I mean, to actually put it out there, offer it up, and then them follow through and take it serious.
Yeah.
That's not something that happens quite often.
It's not, but you know what? I could say we're very fortunate at our location. We're like every single person who walks through those doors is a blessing to the gym in some way, whether it's their personality or if it's, you know, their just willingness to learn or be around others. And it's just, it's really amazing. It's I mean, I can't say enough how lucky I am. So, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
No doubt. And overall, like, would you say that you are where you thought you'd be right now? Like with the business and everything?
No.
Really?
No. I was worried from the very get-go.
You didn't think it'd work out?
No. I mean, when I first started jiu-jitsu, I was like Nate, I was very dedicated. And at the time, like I was in a very toxic marriage and everyone around me was saying, you got to quit jiu-jitsu. It's going to ruin your life. You'll never make a living. There's no money in it. And I said, I just believed in it. You know, I didn't go to college. I didn't have, you know, the only thing I was good at is fighting, you know, and being that person. And there was two ways to go. I could try to make a professional route or I could, you know, go a bad route. So, I decided, you know what, I'm going to just train every day. And I end up having to choose between my relationship and jiu-jitsu at one point in my life. And I chose jiu-jitsu and it, you know, led me to a great place. So now I'm pretty happy. So,
yeah, I tried to warn Nate about that, about relationships,
About the
relationships and jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Dude, girls hate jiu-jitsu.
No,
I mean,
yeah.
unless they do jiu-jitsu,
yeah.
they hate it.
I've been super fortunate to have a partner that is super supportive of what I do, and you know, and I'm super blessed for that. You know,
That's
I
important.
told her at the beginning, I set the standard. I said, hey, you know, if you want to date me, my life is jiu-jitsu, and if at any point in time you make me choose between you or jiu-jitsu, I mean, I'm gonna choose jiu-jitsu. So she knew that from the get-go, and you know, she's like, I support you 100%, and anything that you do, if you need my help, I'm always here. So shout out to her.
Well, that makes you a better jiu-jitsu athlete though. When you have someone who supports you and believes in your dream.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
It pushes you so much because there's times that I know me, I wouldn't believe in myself, and my wife would like force me, hey, you know, you can do this. You know, keep going.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like when you have that dynamic, it works out. I didn't have the dynamic. It didn't work out. Then now that I have that dynamic, you know, I couldn't ask for anything more. So.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, jiu-jitsu has definitely made a huge purposeful change in my life, and it's made such great connections for me too. Like, it actually got me in a movie last year. Like a guy that a guy that I trained with, like when I was a blue belt in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky. There, like he's now a stunt coordinator, and he's actually coming back soon. He's coming back for a few days. He just talked to me today in July, so I'll bring him by the gym. But he's a black belt under Carlson Jr.
Awesome.
Really, really great guy. But, you know, we've been doing this for about an hour now, man. And I know this isn't the last time we're going to be doing this, but I want to fire off some rapid fire questions to you guys and get your thoughts on it real quick before we round it off. And I just wanted to have an opportunity in this episode to get to know both of you. And in the future, man, I'd like to do some video commentaries. The way I got this place set up is specifically for you guys. Like, I've got the monitor right here where you can see the video and everything. And
I like it already.
Yeah, I do too.
I already like where this is going.
I think it's super dope.
So I'm gonna have it lined up to where, because there's a lot of bull-jitsu out there that's going on, and I a lot of bullshit, and I just want to get your guys' opinion on it.
Of course.
And I think it's great. I think it's great because you got a competitive blue belt right here, 23-year-old blue belt, and then you've got a 40-year-old black belt that's been in the game for a while, and then myself, just a fucking loser. But like I'm just kidding. No, I'm just a big beefy guy. But
KO's tough. He doesn't give himself credit.
No. But yeah, man, like that's I definitely want to do some video commentary and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, rapid fire round. All right.
Go. Let's do it.
Gi or no gi?
Gi.
No gi for sure.
Absolutely.
I'm not a big no gi guy, even though I started no gi. And all my students know, like, I'm not quite fond of no gi, but that's okay.
Yeah, unless you're fighting naked in the street. Right?
Yeah, it's jiu-jitsu at the end of the day is what I say, but my preference, the gi for sure.
Absolutely.
Both gi, huh? Okay.
Yep.
I agree. Everybody's got a belt for the most part, and everybody's got clothes on. So it's definitely good to know where those handles are for sure. All right. What was the first submission you ever landed?
In a tournament?
Yeah.
Triangle.
Really?
Yeah, I've always been a triangle guy. I don't know why.
I wish I was.
So mine first was actually at Worlds last year, and it was a Kanto choke, and that's been kind of my
signature
submission since then. So
Kanto choke.
Kanto.
Interesting. What is your favorite post-training meal?
Oh my God.
When I'm cutting weight or when I'm not?
I'll take this first.
That's a good question.
Go for it.
Either American barbecue or like my favorite place now, honestly, is Prince Street Pizza in Pasadena. That's where we get our pizza from, and that place is phenomenal.
Let's try it out.
And Moose as well. So those are two places that like I go to
100%. I think
always.
if I'm not cutting weight, those two for sure are up there. And
I'm never cutting weight.
When I am cutting weight,
you don't have to. Don't do it.
Probably some steak, some ribeye, a nice ribeye. Not too much, but some ribeye, and then some fruit and honey. Not smoked. No. I usually pan sear it. So.
Oh yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah, I tell you, one time I cut weight for a tournament, and then the next day I went directly to Cinnabon, and I bought the biggest Cinnabon.
Oh yeah,
with cream on it, nuts and everything. Dude, you can get sick. I didn't know that. That's a real, like, I was sick as a dog.
That's a lot of sugar, man.
It was a lot of sugar, and I didn't know that was even a real, that you could really, I really was sick after that.
Yeah,
for days.
I've been there. I was in actually earlier this year, flew out to Albuquerque, did a tournament out there, and after Nogi, we went out with the boys and went out with my buddies, and ended up eating 6 sopapillas with honey and an entire plate of New Mexican food. Which, if you don't know what sopapillas are, it's
it's like fried
bread.
No, it's like if you got a piece of dough, like pizza dough, and you fried it and it kind of bubbles up. They're delicious.
They're delicious.
New Mexico cuisine is
but I ended up getting like really badly sick, and it wasn't like throwing up. It was just really bad stomach pains. Yeah. I think since I was cutting weight, my body just wasn't ready, to intake all that.
All that flour expands in your stomach and it pushes it out, especially when you're cutting weight. Nightmare.
That's a real thing, though. Yeah. So if you guys could if you guys could train, I'm just going to say train. If you guys could train with anyone, past or present, who would it be? You
go ahead. Let's hear what the younger guys got to say about it.
If I could train with anybody, I'm going to keep it humble on this one, and I'm going to say, man, that's tough. There's so many. I think off the top of my head, I'm going to go 2 people. Okay, and this is going to sound super cliche and gooberish, but probably Mike and Juno. There's a bunch of great people out there, and especially in jiu-jitsu, there's a bunch of great guys, but just because they're really good at jiu-jitsu and they show you something, that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And I think the biggest part about doing jiu-jitsu in general is having fun doing it, and I think I'm having a lot of fun with the people that I'm around every single day, and if I had 2 people to choose, it would be them. So,
good answer.
It's definitely not my answer, but I like that. That's very good.
Had to keep it a little cliche. Sorry.
So are you gonna say Nate?
Yeah, you better say me.
No, I would say. I mean, I've trained with so many jiu-jitsu greats. Literally, like if I had to choose one, I'd probably Holes Gracie. He passed away in a hang gliding accident a long time ago, and apparently he was like the ultimate. Like he was apparently, I don't know this, but he was a lot better than Hickson. And I think that'd just be cool. Him or like Hodger Gracie, someone that's like tall, that kind of jiu-jitsu gives me a problem. So it'd be cool just to learn, So.
Yeah. That'd be a really good
Someone-
guy to
'cause
learn from.
I've came up with a lot of really good guys that I've trained with. I don't
Yeah.
want to say a bunch of names, but
Yeah.
I've been pretty blessed. So probably someone that's
I'm
not
trying to think
around.
if there's somebody that's like passed away that I would bring back and train with. But
Leandro Lowe,
actually, yeah, Leandro Lowe
mean,
for sure.
but
For sure, Leandro Lowe. Yeah, any top guy I would love to train with, And
Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough to be in some rooms with some top guys as well, so but I think at the end of the day it all just boils down to having fun, and
yeah,
as long as you're around the people that you're having fun doing jiu-jitsu with,
Right.
I think that's the most important. So who knows if I bring them back and we connect, or something like that. Maybe in a perfect world, Leandro Lowe would be a great training partner, but you never know. I'd like to say maybe Craig Jones too. I think he's a funny guy, good personality. I think it would just be fun to hang out with him on and off the mat. So maybe him as well.
To me, it's kind of weird how those guys sort of have like celebrity status now.
yeah.
You got Craig Jones, Ryan Gordon. Who else is out there? I mean, a lot of these guys now, they even have like the
Marcelo.
They have like the jiu-jitsu tournament now in Vegas. What's that called? That's televised, the no-gi one.
Oh,
ADCC.
ADCC. Yeah, and CJI.
So that's televised is a big deal,
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's growing, and it's more people are getting into it. And more people in their 40s are getting to it, or white belts. Just it's their first time starting out, and it's great. It's great.
I think that's this thing about jiu-jitsu. Like, there's a style you can learn for every body type. You could be a huge overweight guy and you're going to be a pressure passer. If you're really skinny and flexible, right, you're going to be a guard player. If you're, kind of that like mid stature, right, you might be a great guard passer, whatever, right? So it's like you can kind of adapt your game. I've even seen big guys who are like chunky invert and back take, and I'm like,
everyone has their own game.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that everyone knows like I'm smashing past like every time, like
for sure.
And like it's kind of a kryptonite to do the same thing over again. And I'm trying to develop that. But the thing is I always tell people is know your adversary, or have an idea of your adversary. Like look at his size, look at how big they are, how strong they are, and like think about what you would do. Have a game plan, and then have a contingency. If first thing you do fails, then we go to this, then we go to that, so on and so forth. Don't treat me the same way you would a 120 pounder.
Right. A game plan is important, but you just got to be prepared for
just adaptability,
right?
Not going your way.
Like when you rolled against the heavyweight guy, like the last place you probably wanted to be was for him to be on top of you, smashing you,
absolutely
out of control, right? Like,
absolutely.
So that's what I always tell people is to just have a game plan, know your adversary. If you see them wearing like a brown belt or a black belt or a higher belt, don't do the same thing you would do to a white belt.
Yeah.
Try to get the advantage and hold it.
And that's the thing with jiu-jitsu is looks can be deceiving.
Yeah.
It's like you don't know. Because when you're wearing the gi, everyone looks like the same. You don't know if they're packed full of muscle, if they got zero muscle. You're you're just wearing the uniform, you don't know.
Both of you guys, have you guys been underestimated before, or like anyone look at you like,
oh, I'm sure I do.
I feel all the time. I don't know, maybe I can't speak for everybody. I feel people look at me and underestimate me, especially maybe going into like a heavier weight class or something.
If I was
they overlook me.
If I was untrained, I would underestimate both of you.
Oh, for sure.
Because
100%.
you're both skinny and you're both small.
Yeah. It's surprising.
But I'm trained, so I know better.
Yeah. Surprisingly though, I like for some reason people just when I go out they just think I'm an MMA fighter or something, so they just like they don't mess with me. Maybe it's because of my ears.
Yeah.
But usually that's always like the topic. They'll start talking and then, it's pretty chill. I've never had someone be like, hey man, like, usually they'll like be like, oh, you train? I'm like, yeah. And that's how it goes. My wife always says, man, more guys talk to you than they like come up and talk to her,
Yeah.
They, like talking about my ears or something. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think that's the beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu is it was almost designed for the little guy to win, right? Or maybe not the little guy to win, but to have like a defense and an offense fighting against a bigger opponent. So for sure, I think being a smaller guy, you get overlooked, not just in jiu-jitsu, maybe less in jiu-jitsu because people understand, but for sure on the street.
Oh yeah.
For sure people are looking at you. And I think a lot of it boils down to ego, right? And that's a beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu as well. It's an ego humbler. So,
Oh, totally.
you know, a bunch of guys that don't do it, unfortunately, they don't get humbled.
I can't tell you how many times people like weightlifters have come to a jiu-jitsu class and walked away like, man, I'm really sore, man.
Oh yeah,
like,
they say it's the hardest thing they've ever done.
man, like, you know, like doing those bicep curls. That's my problem is back in the day, like when I was in college, I did the beach muscles.
Yeah.
Right.
And then during pandemic, I worked out with, you know, beach muscles. So kind of one of those things for me, like it doesn't help you like in a fight.
No, definitely not.
It tires you out.
I don't think if, you know, you got into a fight against a bigger guy that is untrained,
Right.
you know, the only thing he's going to say is what? Like, let's have a bench off.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you may be able to lift more than me, but let's see where those weights really come in handy. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah. If you had one thing to say to encourage someone who's on the fence to train or not to train, let's say the guy's in his 30s, 40s. The older you get, the harder it is to walk into that gym.
Yeah.
What would be your push?
So I'll say two things first. Number one, the hardest part is always showing up. Right? It's super, like I said earlier, it's super easy, excuse me, when something's tough to shy away from doing it, especially with jiu-jitsu. It's not easy to show up every single day or to show up on the first day and tell yourself you're going to do it. And I think that's super important. And second thing is, for me, what actually kept me going at the beginning was the fact that I always tell everybody this: jiu-jitsu takes your mind off of everything. And I've never experienced something like that with training at the gym, right? Lifting weights. And, you know, maybe that's just me. And maybe some people do go to the gym and it takes their mind off of whatever they're going through or it relieves the anxiety. But for me, jiu-jitsu, I think that being in a situation where all you can do is think about what's going on in the moment, think about what's going on in the match, and it just takes everything away. I think that's an attractive feature for jiu-jitsu. And, you know, I highly recommend anybody to at least give it a try because, like I said, the hardest part is showing up.
Yeah. How do you get them through the door, Mike?
Well, I usually say that first. That's where Nate got that from. Hardest part's just showing up.
Actually, yeah.
But my thing is I just try to show people the beauty of jiu-jitsu. Like, it's for everybody, you know, like, oh, you know, I don't want to show up. You know, it's a lot of people, when they end up showing up, they're trying to rush the positions, right? Because it gets really frustrating when you're brand new and guys are doing things you don't know. And you're like, hey, you know, it's too much for me. It's just like, man, you got to, like, you know, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You know, you got to take your time. You have to, like, and a lot of it has to do is people got to feel comfortable walking in. You know, I always try to make sure every single person that walks in those doors feels like their family from the moment they step foot in the door, you know? So, I mean, and not only that, I tell them, look, it can change your life in many ways. You can compete, right? You can, you know, help you with your body. It can help your mental state, your confidence, right? If you're being bullied at work, like all these things are just come into play for people, you know? So I try to just reiterate that it's just for everyone. And it's such a positive addiction. That's what I tell people. It's the most positive addiction you can have. You know?
Absolutely.
Worst comes to worst, you'll introduce you to jiu-jitsu. You're going to be your wife's going to catch you on the computer late at night, you know, with the lights off, looking at geese, you know, or looking at technique. You know, that's not bad. It could be much worse, you know. So
I thought you were going somewhere else with
yeah,
that.
hey, you never know.
You never know.
Me, I was always got caught looking at jiu-jitsu, so it's like whatever. So
Looking at dudes wrestling each other on the mat.
And yeah, exactly. And you know, but you know, it's an evolution of getting better, you know, just trying to
test yourself.
Absorb as much as you can, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the ultimate tests you can do.
Yeah, I definitely agree, man. It's challenging for sure, and it's more realistic than weightlifting. It's real life stuff. It may even save your life at some point or someone else's life. And that's why it's worth training. Just one last thing, man, I want to ask you both. So you guys are MMA fighters. What's your walkout song?
I got a couple.
What's your number one? What's your number one though?
I'll let Mike answer this one first, so I have more time to think.
Honestly, mine would probably be Bon Jovi, the song that they played for Young Guns.
Oh, Blaze of Glory.
Blaze of Glory.
Nate's like, what is that?
Yeah,
and who is Bon
that's a great
Jovi?
song.
Nate's like, I'm too young for that.
Bon Jovi.
Jovi.
I was actually trying to look at my Spotify right now. But
That was just off the top of my head. Either that or like a Rocky song or something, or maybe something super modern. But other than that, probably because it's an old jam, and it like, you know, the movie really resonated with me as a kid and making
I
friends.
liked it too.
You know,
I liked it too. I wanted to be Lou Diamond Fellas, man.
Yeah.
He was a badass.
I wanted to be Billy the Kid.
Yeah.
I was like Amelia Estevez.
They're coming out with part 3.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
We'll see. Hopefully don't ruin it.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah, it's Hollywood. What's up, Nate? What is it?
I got a couple. But
He said one, man.
yeah, I know, man. I just had one, so I think off the top of my head,
Uptown Girl? No,
there you
Uptown
go.
Girl.
I'm just
Uptown
kidding.
Girl. No, probably something that would get the crowd going. I think, like, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a track called "The Heads Will Roll," but it's a very popular track. Actually, Paddy Pimblett, the UFC fighter, it's his walkout song. He actually stole it from me.
Oh,
No, I'm just kidding. But I think that would be a really cool walkout song. I think whatever gets the crowd hyped and behind you, you know, that extra fire in your heart and in your mind is everything. So something that gets the crowd going.
yeah.
I've heard some crazy walkout songs also.
Yeah, maybe the game, like the game WWE. What was his name? Triple H's intro, or is a
I don't know.
time to play the game?
I stopped watching WWF or WWE back in like 95.
Yeah, there's a bunch, you know, but I think something just to get the crowd hyped up.
Anything
so.
by AC/DC, you know,
Yeah, that's a good one.
get the crowd going.
Yeah, the funniest one I ever heard was Blink 182, All the Small Things. And I think it was, what's his name, man? It was that one guy, he's a grappler here from Southern California. And he just told him, like, put on whatever. And they put on All the Small Things by Blink 182.
Nice.
And he's walking out to that. And I thought that was strange.
It's a good
But,
song, though.
Yeah, it's a good song.
It is a good song.
Good song, but it doesn't really.
Could be worse.
Yeah, could be worse.
Mike Perry picked a song and they picked the wrong one.
What was
And it was like a Beyonce song, but he was walking out and he's like,
he was like jamming. To it,
yeah, he
too.
was like, he looked at his lady, he's like, well, it is what it is. Let's go.
Double down.
Yeah. I think he won that fight too.
That's funny.
So
Man, before we round it off, man, is there anything that you guys want to mention? I mean, we'll come back to the table again, but anything that I didn't mention that you want to throw out there?
no.
Nate,
Oh.
you got a competition coming up in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I got the World Championship coming up, so
That'll be cool.
Where at?
that's going to be in Long Beach at the Pyramid.
Walter
in
Pyramid.
Long Beach State, I think it's at. So, but if there was one thing I could say, it would be to just try jiu-jitsu. You know, you don't know what it can do for you. You don't know what it could do for those around you.
Absolutely.
And for me, it, like I said, it completely changed my life and for the better.
Find a great gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's key.
Absolutely.
Well, find a place where you're comfortable. That's why I tell people, but like, people will call and they'll say, hey, we want to sign up. And I'll say, well, why don't you come first and make sure this is what you want, right?
Yeah.
Especially for us too. Like, we don't want someone coming in here and trying to like
Right.
bully someone, right? Where I have to step in and kick someone out or, you know, so it's got to be chill.
We'll get into that next time because I know you have footage on that one.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
Maybe I'll bring it for you guys.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, we'll have to come back after Worlds too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. What about you, Mike? With anything to say?
I just want to say just thank you to everyone. You know, thank you to you and all the students and everyone who made, you know, my transition to being a jiu-jitsu professor happen, you know, make it a reality. So all my students, my wife, my daughter, you know, my son, everyone.
If you build it, they will come.
It's what they say and it's true, you know.
Yeah.
It's true. So and we're looking to expand, so hopefully soon we'll have a bigger location, you know, and all that good stuff. So
Have a
Nice.
place for a podcast
That's
studio
right.
and everything.
Oh, yeah,
right.
little studio.
that's right.
There you go. All right, folks. Well, that's a wrap on today's in-studio episode of the Morning Formation Podcast. Huge shout out to Coach Mike Medina, Professor
Yes.
Mike Medina,
Yes.
and Nate Crisler here, the
Thank you.
resilient,
The young gun.
the young gun, right?
There you go.
Thank you guys for pulling back the curtain and sharing your stories about where you're from and a little bit about your thoughts on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And, you know, whether you're new to the game or deep in the grind, we hope this episode gave you some insight and inspiration to keep fighting the good fight. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave us a review. As always, I want you to stay tuned, stay focused, and stay motivated. Warriors. Fall out.